Greetings. Welcome to the Hurricane Garden Show number 3. Ah, yes. Hurricane Lane is on the way into the islands right now. He is about 300 miles roughly to the south of Kailua Kona. That is the big town on the western side of this island. It's bypassed the eastern side, and so it's swinging around South Point and heading towards the west coast, although it looks like it's probably just going to skirt by. I don't believe there'll be any real encounter directly. The cone, though, of disturbance it's creating already this morning, just some of the bands of rain that are circulating around this thing already left us here in Mountain View with 1 inch and 1600ths of rain in just a little bit over an hour. That band has passed through for now, but there's lots more behind it, and we could actually see this coming in for maybe the next 2 days is possible. It's a big hurricane. It's believed right now still a Category 4. It looks like most of the pain, if there is any, will be felt from Lane in Maui or Oahu, because if it takes the projected path, it's going to head right towards those islands. They do show it turning away from them and heading westerly before it goes on land, and so if it does that, we're just going to get one good storm and a lot of wind. We're projected here to potentially tonight sometime hit the peak in the winds and our proximity to the storm. They say we could get maybe up to 30 miles an hour in places at times on this side of the island. That's not enough to get too worried about. I suppose if you live somewhere where there's a lot of albizia trees, you best worry. It's a little late to be logging them right now, but 30 miles an hour could break the limbs off those weak things and end up busting your power lines, and smacking your car windshield or something like that. So I think any damage on this side of the island will be indirect. Weak wooded trees and moderate wind speeds. There could be some flash flooding though. That could certainly happen. We can get a lot of water out of this thing. I'm going to make a bet, considering it hasn't even gotten here and we already had over an inch, that we're probably going to get about 6 inches of rain out of this thing. So all that lime I've been dusting around to get rid of the coqui frogs is all going to get washed off today. All my vegetation will be nice and clean. The whole situation shouldn't even begin to affect Maui until about tomorrow, so it's moving fairly slow. Otherwise, I was planning to do some hurricane gardening today. I really had made plans to get out there and get my sweet corn planted. And now, if I had gotten the site mowed before 9 o'clock this morning while I was still sitting around, I'd have been okay, because the rain didn't start until after late morning here, and I could have done the mowing, but it's too wet now. And it's starting to rain again. And it'd just be a miserable day to go out and try to do anything like that. I was only trying to do it to thumb my nose at the storm, Ooh, the governor, of course, has declared a state of emergency. He has closed the schools and all the non-essential public offices and such and such. So far, all the commercial stuff is still open. They may begin to follow suit, depending. Especially, I would worry, further to the west here, Maui, Oahu. If it does happen to come close to Oahu, that's a lot of people. So it could be a real mess. Over here, there are places where that thing could come on land and we might not even notice it. It's not all that heavily populated here on this island, and so unless it made a direct hit onto Hilo or a direct hit onto Kailua Kona, in between there breaks trees, no big deal. Well, here comes another wave of rain. I think you can hear it. Hear the raindrops. So far, gentle, no big thing. my corn patiently awaits me over here in the flats, right along with the green beans I was going to stick at the bottom of it. Over here is about as far as I got. Trip to Ace Hardware, 4 bags of chicken poo. Got them in my cart. Smells real nice. That was it. Here comes the rain. It's getting wet. I'm not going to bother. Well, Hurricane Lane has already left us with an inch and 1600ths of rain this morning. Came in about an hour. That was enough rain that it saturated the soil and made my ice cream banana fall over in the mud. Right behind it over there, you can see apple bananas ripening. That one don't fall over. It's stable, it's high yielding, it's a good banana. So that's as far as my sweet corn hurricane gardening project got. You know, anything interesting happens over here, I'll get it into the camera and we'll let you all see what's going on. But I kind of figure it's going to be pretty much like most of the other hurricanes that come by here. It's not going to be a lot of effect, just a lot of rain. We've had enough wind up here from a few past storms that it tipped my young coffee plants at an angle after they were planted. We had to go out and straighten everything in the fields. This has happened. I've had things turn over here. Soil is very soft, very unstable, and if you load it up with 6 inches of rain, you know, that it gets so goopy that if the wind picks up, things will start to fall over. And so that's, if I have a problem, that's probably going to be it. As a yesterday's hurricane gardening video, I got lots of good positive feedback on it, and then I got the halfway garden feedback on it. You know, oh, they like the garden stuff, but oh, I can't stand it when you go into politics. Well, just again to let you all know, I don't do politics. I don't know where you get that idea. I am not a political entity. I have no political affiliations whatsoever. I don't register with political parties, and I don't have political ideologies, not at least one as projected by most of your political leaders. I don't agree with any of them. I think I've said this before. As far as I'm concerned, they're Republicrats and Democrats. It's all pretty much the same thing. Currently, these days, it appears the Republican Party is definitely in disarray. But no, I'm not right or left. I respect a lot of the traditional members of the right in this country. John McCain, for instance, is a man that I like and I admire. And he's definitely a staunch conservative. So I have no problems with conservative politics. You know, as far as this Trumpster is concerned, this guy has no political affiliation. He's run under a Republican ticket. Get a clue, characters, but he is not a Republican. He's not a conservative. He has no political affiliations that make sense or you can track whatsoever. So when talking about Trump, how can you talk about politics? He's an amateur. You know, it's not like he's been with some political party. You go back, you look at his background before he ran for political office, he was more on the left in his comments than he was on the right. He has come up with many different statements over the years that are they're confusing. And right now, he's baffling for his own party because tariffs are not a conservative agenda, for instance. Neither is welfare for farmers, for instance, which is the way he's planned to solve the tariff problem with the farmers, and so on. So he doesn't have a political philosophy. And my problems with him is not his politics, because he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any. Get a clue. Listen to the other Republicans, okay? There's a few that'll line up with him because of chauvinism, but he does not toe a conservative line at all. He's there for his own self-interest and for the interests of some characters that are standing behind him that put him up to this. But those interests are not the interests of the American people. So this is a personal thing for me as far as he's concerned. He's a liar. Plain and simple. I don't respect liars. And I know others have told me, well, all politicians lie. Yeah, it's true. And so do all people. So what? But most of them reserve a lie for special occasions when they feel they need to use one. This guy doesn't even understand what the truth is. There is almost nothing that comes out of his mouth that isn't a lie. He can't tell the difference. And, of course, the frightening part of all that for me is that he matches the philosophy of little Joe Goebbels, Hitler's chief propagandist during the 1930s and 40s. If you repeat a lie often enough, people will begin to believe it, and you will begin to believe it yourself eventually. That's Joe Goebbels. He was a great Nazi, good Nazi. And it's the same philosophy that's being used right now. I don't want to go into this because I'll drag up at least a half dozen other points that were utilized by the Nazis during the 30s and 40s that are currently being utilized by our own leadership in this country. And that's my problem. Most Americans don't know their history. They don't understand how this stuff has worked in the past. And most of them don't understand how Hitler came to power in Germany during the 1930s. And take a look at the techniques if you have the interest. The techniques are the same. That's a frightening thing, because I'm an American. My great-grandfather started UL Laboratory. My great-grandmother's family was the first shoe company of Boston, and so on. We've been here a long, 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 long time, and in general, Merrills consider themselves to be patriots. But it's America that I'm interested in. It has nothing to do with politics. So that's my problem. This threatens what I have long believed in. The whole politics thing, that's for people who like football and all this stuff. It's a sporting event or something for them. I'm not into football. I'm not into sporting events. If I choose a political leader, I choose a political leader on the basis of their background, what they've done, their record, how I feel about their character, And as far as Trump's concerned, man, I already made judgments about that guy's character decades before he ever considered running for a political office. So again, this has nothing to do with politics. Not a bit. If you think it does, you're mistaken. Sorry. So here comes the rain. It's coming back. I'm going to spend most of my day probably hiding from it, staying dry. But I see there were plenty of people out shopping for everything when I was out getting my chicken manure. People were loading water, they were loading propane, they were loading underarm deodorant, they were loading all manner of stuff into the carts. There wasn't a parking place left in the entire parking lot at the shopping center in Kau. I had to go out and park out by Foodland's truck dock. Yeah, it was loaded. So they're taking it seriously here. Everybody's stockpiling. Good for the economy. Stores get to sell a whole lot of stuff. So, alrighty, well, there's the end of the hurricane and gardening report. Because for now, the garden's a soggy mess. I'm not out there. And the hurricane, lane's kind of a waste at the moment. But that could change anytime. Aloha. Hang loose.